To use the safety features of the RCX3-SMU, the parameters must be set correctly. This video explains the SMU parameters that deal with speed monitoring, diagnostics and periodic maintenance. The speed monitoring parameter sets the upper limit of the composite speed on the robot's three-dimensional coordinates. When the robot's speed exceeds the speed set in the parameters, the SS1R/T is executed and the unit enters safety mode. The blue dots in the diagram are the points monitored for the robot's speed. When an end effector is set, the four corners of the rectangle specified in the end effector settings are used as monitoring points for the SCAR robot. For Cartesian robots, the monitoring point is the furthest point from the tip of the robot, out of the four corner points of the rectangle specified in the end effector settings. The parameters related to speed monitoring are shown on this table. Speed limit auto is the speed monitoring setting in automatic mode. The safety input, automatic mode speed monitoring, can be enabled at any time in automatic mode by setting the parameters and opening the assigned safety I/O connector contact. Note that monitoring is enabled when the robot has not returned to origin, regardless of the setting. Speed limit manual is the speed monitoring setting in manual mode. This is always enabled, and does not require user wiring. The diagnostic parameters set the judgment parameters for diagnostics to detect single failures of the safety inputs. A judgment for input comparison is made once every 8 milliseconds. If the input does not match for n times 8 milliseconds consecutively, a diagnostic fault is detected. Since n equals 100 is set for the initial parameter, a failure is determined when a mismatch occurs for 800 milliseconds continuously. The judgment parameters related to diagnostics are shown on this table. Mismatch count EMG sets the number of times a mismatch diagnosis is made for the emergency stop input of the safety input. This setting is for the external emergency stop switch wired to pins A1 and A2 of the safety I/O connector. Mismatch count auto sets the number of times mismatch diagnosis is performed on the auto input of the safety input. This setting is for the auto input wired to pins A3 and A4 of the safety I/O connector. Mismatch count manual sets the number of times mismatch diagnosis is performed on the manual input of the safety input. This setting is for the manual input wired to pins A5 and A6 of the safety I/O connector. Mismatch count GP sets the number of times a mismatch diagnosis is made for general purpose inputs 1 to 4 of the safety inputs. This setting is for the safety inputs wired to pins A7 to A14 of the safety I/O connector. The periodic maintenance parameters are used to set the continuous operating time for warning notifications. The RCX3-SMU must be rebooted and self-diagnostic tests performed at least once a year. If the number of consecutive days of operation exceeds the period set in the parameters, a warning will be issued to notify the operator. If the SMU is operated continuously for a period exceeding the period set in the periodic maintenance parameters, the warning code C102, SMU maintenance notification is issued. For safety reasons, we recommend that you turn the power off and on again, and perform a self-diagnostic test once a day. If the operating time exceeds the value set in the periodic maintenance parameter, the warning status cannot be removed until the power cycle. Since the calculation is based on the RCX3-SMU's clock, there may be a maximum of plus or minus 2% time and date deviation. That is all for explanation of the parameters that deal with speed monitoring, diagnostics and periodic maintenance.